réellement en tant qu'amateur. Pouvez-vous partager avec nous des exemples de ce qui a été le coût, la durée et le volume de bunkers pour les expéditions avant les crises pour les différentes parties d'Afrique et actuellement, quel est le coût pour l'expédition maintenant que nous sommes en crise?
Okay, Isn't so what ship owners are experiencing and also shippers are experiencing is particularly in Africa is the fact that if you look at the way the African continent is, vessels that are coming all the way from Asia, which is China, India, that are supposed to access the African side of the Mediterranean or Red Sea, it's impossible for them to go through the Red Sea again because of the Houthi issues at the Yemen side of the Red Sea. So those ships have to go around Africa through the Cape of Good Hope and then access some ports, which is the ports of Egypt, which is one of the biggest ports in Africa. I think second to the one in Tangier. So the likewise some ports, particularly the ones in Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Mauritania, all these are African ports which are supposed to be accessed with an Asian cargoes coming. If you look at the volume of containerized cargoes coming out of Asia, particularly China, Singapore, the other Hong Kong, they are the largest movers of containerized cargoes. And these cargoes are supposed to go through the Red Sea and go through the Suez Canal and access the Mediterranean. Unfortunately, now they are totally cut off. The tankers and the gas carriers, which are also supposed to move, either going out of from the, as you know, Egypt is also a oil producer, Algeria is a gas producer, Libya is an oil producer. All these cargoes that are supposed to go through the Red Sea are unable to go. Likewise, Saudi. So I can tell you from our own experience, we had a vessel that was supposed to call a port in Saudi Arabia, which is in the Red Sea, but is just next door to Yemen. And due to these security issues, we cannot be able to go there. So we had to long days of waiting. And then at the end of the day, our insurances cannot permit us, and that vessel have to be diverted to another country to go through another route. So we are experiencing so much. Likewise, what you see apart from the delays in the supply chain, there is an increase, so much increase in freight, so much increase in bunker consumption, which is more or less bringing more in the carbon emission, which every ship owner has signed up to reduce our carbon emission. But due to this disruption, there is almost so much carbon emission that is coming up. Likewise, the freight is impacted not only because of the ton miles that we are taking. Now that there is, because vessels are on the water for a long period, there is absolutely scarcity of these vessels to be able to move goods. And when there is scarcity, you know that the freight will go up the roof. So now the whole globe is experiencing a very high freight coming up from mostly the shipping tanker side, the wet cargo and the gas. So there is huge demand and there is a scarce because there is scarcity of it. Most of the vessels are on the high sea trying to navigate all those areas. So really the impact in Africa, because we are mostly an import dependent countries, we export our raw materials. So we are seeing a lot of high freight impacting on the cost of goods or our raw materials that we're taking out. And remember, if the freight goes high, then there is likelihood that in order for you to be competitive, you have to drop down your raw material cost in order to compete with other part of the world, the globe. So I am sure in Africa, the impact is that we will be seeing high discount to incentivize the shippers who are going to buy. If not, they will look at other places for them to source their raw materials. So likewise, we are impacted by the importation, and the importation is going to be very high cost for us. Not only high, it is going to take longer time, and because there is longer time, some of the goods are going to arrive late, which means it will impact negatively on any production lines, in particularly in the manufacturing industries. So really, I think there is a lot of negative impact in this.
Je peux dire qu'il y a beaucoup d'impacts négatifs sur ce que vous venez de me demander. Non seulement pas sur le plan de la chaîne d'approvisionnement, mais les trajets, les jours supplémentaires qui sont ajoutés. Si vous voyez nos trajets normaux, nous devrons passer par certaines routes, par le canal du Panama, par le canal de Suez, mais à cause des choses qui se passent, surtout sur le côté de Yémen, nous ne pouvons plus passer par là, donc nous sommes obligés de passer par le Maghreb en passant par les autres pays, les navires qui viennent de l'Asie. Il y a aussi un grand délai là. Donc, ce que nous avons, il y a la difficulté pour la chaîne d'approvisionnement, il y a l'augmentation de coûts d'achat, d'expédition, combustibles, les fuels combustibles. Il y a aussi augmentation du frais. Et nous aussi, maintenant, parce que nous durons sur la mer, il y a augmentation d'émissions de charbon, alors que nous avons signé de réduire le volume de charbon que nous émettons, mais il y a augmentation de cela. Maintenant, puisqu'il y a une grande demande pour ces choses que nous n'arrivons pas à prévoir dans le temps qu'il faut, le coût s'augmente. Donc, il y a vraiment des problèmes qui nous impactent à cause de ces crises-là, je peux dire en somme.
Thank you, Mr. Aminu. That was quite a very revealing point you made there. But I'm particularly concerned about, also food and non-durable goods. Food security is important, canvassed by every country, most international NGOs. And with the elongated days at sea, extra 30 to 40 days, how does this impact the items? It definitely means that some of those items arrive their destination in bad shape. Do you foresee a food crisis if this lingers on?
Merci, M. Aminu, pour la réponse assez détaillée. Maintenant, je veux parler de la nourriture. Qu'en est-il de la nourriture et des autres biens périssables? Quelle a été la conséquence de ces biens pour des voyages prolongés, vous dites, de 30 à 40 jours sur mer? Nous avons appris cela et vous l'avez aussi confirmé. La sécurité alimentaire est importante. Prévoyez-vous une crise alimentaire si cette situation persiste, surtout que les aliments périssables risquent de pourrir avant d'arriver à destination?
Well, I can't say about whether it will lead to food scarcity, but I believe the longer time it takes perishable goods to transit those disruption or alternative routes will bring down maybe the number of days those items can have a shelf life. So I know that most of these perishable goods are transported through either reefer containers or reefer vessels. So, but I agree with you that some of them will arrive or lose. There will be a lot of defective and losses to be experienced by the shippers. So likewise, even at the load port, because of delay in shipping, there will be a lot of also bad goods before even loading them, because they might be waiting at the port, awaiting to be moved. So really, due to the scarcity of ships moving around the world to cover all the supply chain requirement all over the globe. So I believe that these are going to be a lot, but I think less for us in Africa. But I don't know if we are very high consumers of perishable goods movement compared to the rest of the world. But I believe that we will see a lot of delays and disruptions and cost of defective goods arriving, and then possibly less shelf life for those goods that are arriving. So instead of being longer in the shelf, it will now be less due to maybe expiry dates limitations.
Je ne saurais vous dire s'il y aura une crise alimentaire, je ne saurais le dire, mais je sais que cela diminue la durabilité de ces biens périssables, puisque si les choses arrivent au port et il y a un manque de navires pour amener les choses vers les destinations, certainement que si les nourritures et les biens périssables arrivent, ça va diminuer leur valeur et leur durabilité. En Afrique, je ne sais pas si en Afrique, nous sommes des grands exportateurs de biens périssables, donc peut-être ça ne va pas nous affecter autant en tant qu'ailleurs, mais certainement, il y a une augmentation de pertes qui augmente le coût que nous subissons, nous, les opérateurs et les amateurs. Donc, certainement, ça ajoute aussi à nos coûts, oui.
Thank you very much, Mr. Aminu. That's actually very worrisome. And I also begin to wonder that with the obvious rise in the cost of shipping, you know, whether as import or exports, the shipper pays more now, you know. Do you think that the increased costs in shipping would result to a decline in international trade or in shipments, you know, the use of the waters to move cargo?
Merci pour la réponse aussi. Ce qui est évident, c'est que le coût d'expédition augmente, qu'il s'agit de l'importation ou d'exportation. Et c'est l'expéditeur qui paye désormais beaucoup plus. Cela signifie qu'il y a une augmentation mondiale du coût d'expédition de toutes sortes de marchandises, si vous convenez avec moi. Est-ce que cela conduit à une baisse d'expédition et des commerces internationaux, c'est-à-dire l'augmentation des frais? Est-ce que ça va arriver à une baisse d'expédition, selon vous?
Okay, if we take it from your last question, is it going to, do I say, reduce the dependency on sea trade? I don't think that is possible. Today, up till now, sea trading, which is delivering cargoes through the water, is the most cheapest and the most efficient means of transportation of goods within the world today. There is no alternative to that yet. So I am sure that dependency today, almost 90 to 95% of global trade is conducted on the water. So I don't see any reduction in that, since there is no any second alternative. Your second question is, how does it impact on global trade? I believe that it is, we are already seeing it, because there is a lot of there is no country that does not suffer presently inflation. There is inflation all over the globe. Almost every country is facing the same issue of rise in cost of goods and rise in prices and a lot of disruption. So if we should all know that some of these things, because of this disruption in the trade route or voyage route of ships, which is delaying arrival of goods all over, or distribution of goods all over the world. And because it is making that as a disruption, everybody have to factor in his cost. And all these costs are translated, or at the end of the day, transferred to the final user, which ultimately means inflation in the cost rise to almost every goods and services within the globe. So it's if you look at it, it's a phenomenon that everybody all over the world is facing. So it's something that will continue rising. But whether it will reduce the consumption or demand, I do not foresee, since there will be, the population of the world is just increasing the more. And so there will be more need for all these things that are being produced. So I believe that demand will continue going on, and it will not impact so much on the demand for the goods. So if in as long as there is demand for the goods, the price inflation will factor in, and then it will continue going on, but there will be delay in the supply chain distribution.
Bon, je vais répondre d'abord par la deuxième question. Si vous me demandez s'il y aura une réduction de l'expédition, je ne pense pas que cela soit possible, puisque le transport maritime demeure le moins coûteux et le plus efficace façon d'envoyer les biens. Nous avons 95% des biens qui sont expédiés le monde entier, c'est pas la voie la voie marin. Donc, je ne vois pas que ça va diminuer ça. Nous n'attendons pas. Mais en ce qui concerne l'échange commercial mondial, tout pays subit les pressions inflationnistes, ça c'est clair. Les perturbations dans la route habituelle qui causent le délai de tout le monde et ajoutent au coût, ce qui fait que tout le monde ajoute au coût. Donc, si l'amateur a subi des augmentations, il va ajouter, l'opérateur ajoute, et ça s'ajoute tout au long de la chaîne d'approvisionnement. Donc, c'est ça qui cause l'augmentation. Mais la population est en croissance. Donc, est-ce que ça va réduire l'expédition? Je ne pense pas, puisque il y aura toujours la demande. Tant qu'il y a la demande, il y aura toujours le transport maritime puisque la population du monde est en croissance. Nous ne pouvons pas en passer de cela.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Aminu. You have played in the global shipping space for over 14 years. Do you, from your experience over the years, see any buffer or solution in view to these disruptions?
Merci, M. Aminu. En tant qu'acteur expérimenté, vous y avez joué plusieurs années dans le secteur maritime et à l'échelle mondiale. Voyez-vous une solution en vue ou sommes-nous condamnés à attendre le retour du pendule? Qu'en pensez-vous?
Yes, I think if you look at let's take an example of the disruption in the Suez Canal due to the Houthi issues in Yemen side. I believe that, I mean, today or yesterday, there is already a pronouncement by Europe that they are going to protect their shipping, all the shipping that is passing through that. We have seen India have already put in their navy to protect Indian ships that are passing there. We have seen the U.S. Navy has also taken a position there to make sure that ships that are passing there are all protected. So I believe over time this will, and remember this disruption is due to the ongoing conflict in Israel-Palestine war. So anytime there is a solution to that, we believe that that thing will de-escalate. So if it de-escalates, then likely that will end up being a safe way again. On the Black Sea side, we don't know when the Ukraine-Russia war will change. So far it is 2 years. So nothing has changed. There is no sign that it will end very soon. So maybe that disruption will continue. Unfortunately, if you look at the Panama Canal, like we said, it's a climate issue. There is a scarcity of water, and because of that, ships that are supposed to go at a deeper draft cannot be able to go transit that area, and as such, they have to reduce to be able to come up with a lesser draft to cross the Panama Canal. So I understand there is a water conservation processes that are put in place in order to maybe generate more water to be able to give that canal a deeper draft that it used to be. So maybe that will happen after there is a seasonal change. If maybe rainy season comes and the water is able to go up, that we have seen it, particularly in Nigeria. Many of our inland ports, we suffer seasonal draft restrictions and limitations. So sometimes when the rainy season comes, those draft restrictions go off. So I think these are things that are likely to come. So possibly within 2024, we will see the escalation in the Red Sea side, and that will be protected. So Suez Canal passage will resume. The one on the Black Sea is there for 2 years now. There is no chance of it. I don't know when it will go down. Maybe it will also de-escalate at a certain time. But I think this is something that we should brace ourselves that in 2024, these disruptions will still be there. And the fact that it is already hitting the global pricing by creating inflation all over, I think it will continue for some time. So we just have to make provisions for it and prepare ourselves to be able to weather the storm within this year.
Je pense que, en somme, l'année 2024 sera une année de perturbation. Nous serons atteints à des pressions inflationnistes puisque les perturbations vont persister. Mais je pense que si nous pouvons tenir le coup, ça va aller. En somme, je pense que le côté attaque-outils les attaques de outils du côté Yémen, en ce qui concerne le Suez Canal, ça va finir un jour à l'autre, puisqu'il y a les gouvernements qui sont en train il y a la volonté pour mettre la sécurité là-bas. En ce qui concerne la mer Noire, le conflit du Ukraine et la Russie, ça a déjà en cours pour 2 années. Nous ne savons pas quand est-ce que ça va finir. Le problème pour le canal de Panama, c'est la baisse du niveau d'eau. Ça, c'est le changement climatique. Nous ne pouvons grand-chose contre ça, mais il faut trouver les moyens, les stratégies pour contourner cela. Mais je pense qu'à la longue, ça ira. Mais pour cette année-ci, nous devrons tenir bon et voir comment nous allons arriver jusqu'au bout.
All right. All right. Thank you, Mr. Umar, for, it's been quite an intense but relevant and enlightening discourse with you this morning. Thank you for sharing so much of your wealth of knowledge and time with us. We look forward to having you on our show sometime again soon.
Monsieur Omar, ça a été une discussion enrichissante. Merci. Nous avons bénéficié de votre vaste connaissance dans le secteur maritime et aussi de votre temps d'ailleurs. Nous espérons vous revoir très bientôt. Merci, monsieur.
Thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to also being on your show anytime again. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Thank you. All right, then, to all our viewers out there, we thank you for joining us on this episode of Live Conversations. We also appreciate Stark Marine Offshore for their continuous support. Until next Monday at 9 a.m. GMT, when Live Conversation comes your way again, it's bye from all of us at Maritime TV Africa. I am Ezinne Azuna, and Ifeoma Nwagbogo facilitated the French translation. Thank you.
Et à vous, nos chers téléspectateurs, merci d'être restés avec nous tout au long de cette émission. Merci aussi à Stark Marine Offshore Limited pour votre soutien habituel. Veuillez retenir la date lundi prochain à 9h GMT plus 1. On se reverra par la grâce de Dieu avec notre hôte Ezinne Azuna. Au revoir et à bientôt.
Au revoir, à bientôt. All right. Thank you.